besides the food, I'm just kidding.
Well, like I said, the cookies are a plus, but that's not it. Well, for one, this is just, a little, small thing, but it's got me back into reading again. I had stopped reading for a little while, but it's got me back into reading again, so that's a good thing. Two, it's got me to look at the world differently. Like, when you actually sit down and talk about issues that are going on in the world, you actually get a realization of how the world actually is, things that you never thought of before.
It's been good because I get a different perspective on people that I wouldn't really talk to or wouldn't know their perspective. It helps people be tolerant of others, of their opinions, because your opinion can be totally different from others, and that can be okay at G.A.T.O.R. I don't feel at my high school I can interact as much with teachers or students in such a way. So I like being at Brazosport College better in that way because they have different stuff like this, G.A.T.O.R sessions. So it helps me connect with teachers and peers.
We get so wrapped up in our daily routines. This group has lunch over here. This group has to travel off campus for this. This group has this going on. And there's so much going in among, just with, even not considering the student component of this, just the busyness. And silos develop, not sometimes on purpose, but more often simply because of our daily routines and cycles. G.A.T.O.R has done more to break down those silos and to build relationships and who are you and what are you doing? Oh, that's interesting. Than anything I've seen on any campus or any job I've ever been a part of. We know each other as human beings, and that is, it just has this effect on everything else we do and how we do it.
It's really a way for people to get to know each other, and it actually even helps with faculty and staff. Some of us are so busy in our offices all the time, we don't get out and we don't mingle. And so G.A.T.O.R has given us a chance to meet each other and not just interact with students, but to get to know our colleagues as well.
Well, first of all, I would say that it's been a growth experience because every topic has had a different theme. I remember we started with one on poverty. It was a real eye-opener on some of the poverty issues that people lived and experienced that really made it seem so alive and so real. And we, at the time, were thinking as a college that, there are students in our midst that have these very same experiences. So to talk about it and read about it and think about it certainly helps one become more empathetic and understand that the playing field for everyone, to make it level, doesn't mean everyone starts or gets treated in the same way, because not everybody brings the same background.
I've been around higher education for nearly 40 years, and this is the first place where I've been involved in anything at all like this, where there was an activity that brought employees and students engaged at the same table in discussion.
So it started with a Achieving the Dream grant, Walmart Press for Completion. And the Press for Completion grant really wanted to look for equity, broad engagement. And so in Achieving the Dream, they had realized that there was buy-in and participation and energy and excitement among administrators, but that it hadn't really become the groundswell that they wanted to see. And so the Press for Completion grant was twofold. Number one, to bring in more equity kinds of questions, and number two, to spread it out. Dr. Villanueva, our Vice President for Academic and Student Affairs, applied for it, received it, and then the college received it. But then she turned to me and she said, "Sasha, you're a good rebel rouser. What can we do? How can we get people really excited and interested in understanding and discussing this?" And so we formed a task force, pulled together some volunteers of other folks who were high energy, creative, dynamic. We brought in an English professor, the lead librarian. We brought in a sociology professor, psychology professor. We brought in faculty, because on our campus, if you get the faculty involved, the students will come. All of this has been committee driven. And that's one of the real strengths of it, is that there isn't a single voice that's really driving this. So we had this team. And even the selection of the topic, poverty, that's something we decided as a team. We knew we wanted to go after equity, and equity has so many different layers and components. We discussed that, and we selected poverty as a group because we really saw it as that easy entry into a difficult conversation. Selecting the book, that year and every year. Once we have identified the topic, we then have the members of the task force, the G.A.T.O.R task force. We then subdivide and we say, okay, everybody find 5, 6 reviews. We start with reviews. Let's see what the reviews are, and find 5 or 6 and bring them back to the group, and then let's all look at those together and say what we think is best, and we start narrowing it down, and then we actually read the book in its entirety. Typically, we will read 5, 6, maybe 7 books, all of us as a committee, before we select the one on that topic. And it's by committee, and we talk about it, and we look at the strengths and weaknesses of the book, how readable it is, but also our assumptions about how well it's going to be received and how well the different demographics within our discussion population are going to respond to that. Is that something that the youth are going to be able to connect with? Is that something that the seasoned veterans are going to have buy-in on? Right? And finding that balance. And that's how we go about the process of selecting our books.
We've had several discussions within the G.A.T.O.R committee where we had, I'm trying to remember the name of the way we scaled the topics. There was an impact scale, how much we believe each topic would impact our students or how relevant it is to our student population. And then there was I believe it was called a boat rocking scale, how much it would rock the boat on campus. And so we tried to even that out where we had enough of an impact and maybe a mid-level of boat rocking. So far we've done poverty, race, ethnicity, both Hispanic and African American. And we are talking about gender issues now, and before that we talked about veteran issues, and then just success as a whole. And
I think that one of the things that it's done is it's brought, especially the fact that we have so many students involved in the reading as well, it's really brought learning outside of the classroom to be kind of a collegiate experience, and it's opened up that student-employee interaction at a level beyond just faculty and students, because these discussions exist outside the classroom and they engage both staff and administration and faculty and students. I think one impact it really would have on a student is to say, okay, you know, this is different than what I experienced in my public K through 12 education, because you're really getting into philosophical thinking, and you're getting into discussions about shared values or not shared values, and things that really somewhat challenging sometimes. So I think it kind of pushes that adulthood thing that I think is very probably encouraging to students, thinking this is really what I came to do when I said I want to become a student in higher ed. You know, I'm not answering a yes, no, true, false paragraph. I'm talking about life experiences and how they've shaped me, and I'm talking about them with people of all ages, all backgrounds. And so it's a growing experience.
Yeah, just people just like you know. Usually just see them and they're passing by and they have their own life, you know, they have their own struggles. They're trying to get through these classes just like you are. So it kind of makes it easier to want to talk to other students. You know, because like me, I've always been very quiet. I won't just go out into the group, but just having to sit around a table and they're not only say making you have a conversation, but you're getting put in that situation and you start to open up, I guess. So it kind of makes you grow as a person, you know.
The book that I'm reading now, as I was reading it, I was talking to my mom, and I was telling her what the book's about, and I was letting her know, you know, Mom, honestly, everything in this book is so true that we don't think about every day. I was like, you need to read it. I really think that it's going to help you. It's just, I mean, I guess, you know, she kind of has her, like, you know, personal issues or whatever, but honestly, yeah, it really does help in the outside world too, because you can better somebody by learning all of these successful tips. Just the things that I was reading, I knew that if she read, it would help her so much. And so, yeah, I mean, I was sitting there and I was describing it to her, and I told her, I was like, Mom, I'm like, well, you know, I'm definitely not returning this book. I said, we're keeping it, and you're going to read it. And she said, okay, I promise I'll read it. And I just really feel like it would be good for her. Sorry, I get kind of emotional about it, but it would be really good for her. And it's because of G.A.T.O.R that now I'm going to be able to do that for my mom, you know?